This is the startup meeting for the ISC2 Finland Chapter. I don't know if everybody is familiar with ISC2, so that's very nice. Yeah. The agenda for the event was going to be welcoming now the introductions and probably the networking that will probably happen after the event, and then I'm going to talk about ISC2 and what this whole event is about. Then we'll have Peter Ernest, because Peter will talk about cybersecurity communities. Then Julio, let's talk about AI. Then question and answers, basically. So this is me, Odinaka Ernest. I prefer to be called Ernest, but not to be special. So I'm the founding president or the petitioner for this Finland Chapter, and yeah, right now we just have the president, and these are the open spots. So I can see here a lot of people already know about ISC2, and if you're interested in filling up any of these positions, you can reach out to me after the event. Now, what's ISC2? Basically, ISC2 is all about communities, the local communities. ISC2 Finland Chapter, you can talk about the Finland Chapter, but ISC2 itself is an organization that is responsible for certifying cybersecurity professionals, basically. Now, the whole Finland Chapter is just like a local community where people network, where people share knowledge, you meet professionals, and you meet people at different levels of their career. The value proposition, the whole aim of the chapter is to give back to local communities, cybersecurity community, then share skills, share experience, meet people, inspire and mentor future leaders. Because right here we have people that are still starting out in cybersecurity, and we have professionals like yourselves or professionals there. And here to promote cybersecurity awareness. These are the 4 pillars of ISC2, the organization to connect, educate, inspire, and secure. And when it comes to connecting professional networking, we do that through professional networking, career development, job connections, then for education and inspiration as well. Then how to join this chapter? Because like I said, a chapter is a community. So to join, we have a form that you are going to sign. So basically, if you don't have an ISC2 ID, because you're going to need an ID, but if you don't have an ISC2 ID, you can meet me after the event, and I'm going to show you how to register. But then, if you're already certified in cybersecurity or certified by ISC2, then it makes it much more easier. And if you're interested in filling up any position, then I'm going to fill your name right here. And if you don't want to sign, or probably for those that are watching the recording, you can apply to be a member through mail. So you just need to send me an email with your full name, then your ID, then consent that you are submitting an part of ISC2 Finland Chapter, and you are there by the user the requirement. So this is pretty much about the Finland Chapter. So right now I'm going to call on Peter to tell us a bit about himself and about building cybersecurity communities.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Peter Hellstrom, and if you want to connect with me via LinkedIn, there is this QR code. So please just scan it. If you don't know how to scan it, then you just go to the LinkedIn application to this search field. And in the search field, when you press it, there comes a small icon on the right side. And then you get the QR code and you get the scanner in the same place. So just press the search and you find a small icon on the right side of this search field. And then you find the QR code and you find also the scanner. So yeah, please use LinkedIn. It's really good to use also to make communities. I'm leading at the moment a project called Artificial Intelligence Against Cybersecurity. It's a project around Vaasa area. Companies, and the main companies in something called, let's see if I have this one. For companies that are in the cluster, Energy Vaasa cluster. And I'm going to talk today about why chapter matters and building cybersecurity communities locally and how that could be done and why it's important to do it, or why it could be important to do it. And a little bit about background of myself. I've been building communities since 1999 because that was the time we started to make a community with. We had 1,200 companies from Finland, Sweden, and Norway. We did it for 10 years. And I have been also, we made like a boat cluster and we make a metal cluster here. We had different kind of projects. So we're combining several projects, working together to make different kind of communities. And we had a platform at that time that was actually like LinkedIn, but many years before LinkedIn even started. But it was a project and it ended in 2010. And by that time, people started to use LinkedIn and other tools. But quite often projects are time-limited and they just end in some time. Shortly about Energy Vaasa, so you a little bit understand what's the background here in this area. We have been companies doing technology for over 100 years, 150 years, since the 1880. Doing electricity, doing motors. So ABB and Wärtsilä, the companies before that have been here for ages, for really, really long time. So people are here really, really used to work together, work closely together, talk with each other. So CEOs knows usually other CEOs here. They talk with them all the time. That's not the case in so many places. It's really quite uncommon actually, that CEOs from a lot of companies. And between companies here, it's just 15 minutes to go from one company to other company. So it's quite easy to go and take a coffee and just chat around and talk with people. So, and we look at this, there's about 108 companies in our cluster. And I work for something called Merinova, so you can see my t-shirt here. And we branded Energy Vaasa as our brand, but this marketing is done by Vasek. But at the moment, about 13,000 people working in this industry. And we are actually producing, at the moment, if you look at how much export we have in Finland, about 71 billion euros export from Finland, and almost 5 billion euros is coming from this area. And much of that is done because we are talking with each other. We are helping each other. We are finding new ways to do with new technologies, new companies, new customers. Just teach a little bit about what kind of logos you can find behind it. But if you look at a little bit about building communities, how can it be done? It can be done by having projects like this that he was talking about also, that you are starting to build together something and you're starting from point zero actually. And you make an organization and maybe have a budget even and you have everything like around it. But you can also start to build a community just because you have an interest in something. Just with maybe going out, taking a coffee break and starting to invite people to this community and starting to make it a little bit bigger and bigger. We made actually for some years ago, we started this kind of LinkedIn afterwork group just by sitting down once, 6-7 people, thinking that, hey, this could be done a little bit more professional. We could maybe start something a little bit bigger. But still we didn't have any budget, and still today we don't have any budget. We don't have any money, but we have people that are interested to come and join this kind of community. So I think we go like 20 years backwards, these kind of communities have been quite hard to start without a budget, without like officially going out and saying, hey, we're gonna do this. So this LinkedIn is a really good tool to use for that. Of course, using like WhatsApp or using different kind of other tools to make discussions, to make it a little bit more professional, are of course always good. But of course, you need to find people that are interested in the topic. So if you look at cybersecurity, in cybersecurity, there's really much different kind of things involved. There's about how to know who the people are. You need to know spaces that are safe, how to communicate between companies, how to make information flowing between companies. It's not always just technical things. It's much about recognizing people. It's much about how to build facilities. There's a lot of things around it also. It's not just how the number ones and number zeros are going in some cables. And it's also to understand what is the dangers, to understand what is the threat that companies are having at the moment. And now when AI is coming in, decided to speak about AI, it's getting even harder, much more complicated. Because both sides are using AI both to recognize and to do things. So even in that way, it's really hard for just one person to understand everything about cybersecurity. I have some education, I have cyber master's education in cybersecurity. I have digitalization master. I have been doing these kind of things for a long time, but still I would say that I don't know a lot. So you need to have a lot of people that are communicating together and understanding it. And you need also to get this board of your company, especially if it's a bit bigger company. You need to get the CEO to understand what it's about. You need to have in the board people that understand what it's about. And that is the people you can also invite to this kind of discussions. To invite them to your community to talk with them. So follow local events, go to events like this. There you will meet people. You can get discussions. You find out who are interested, who are not, who can put some time to the community, because you need to put usually not money, but you need to put time there to discuss and to understand what are the topics at this time. Reach out to companies, talk with them, invite them. Otherwise, it can be hard. If you look at our after work, we are going out to companies. We just ask, is it okay we come? They usually invite us. You can go and look at them and talk with them. And build your own initiatives. Like this is one good initiative that was said. And it usually it's just one or two persons that are really interested to start it. Like holding this, like everything together. Like a small company, in a way. Yeah, okay. We have one group that we have made just for my project that we are talking about events and things like that with 30 members. But it's a good start. Yeah, we're doing it in only Finnish at the moment. But this is just a start. Inviting people to this kind of group, starting to talk, starting to do something. Yeah, questions? I think my time is up probably. Time flies so fast. Have anybody of you any kind of other communities at the moment? And look at like when you have come here, have you found communities that you can join? Just to meet people and to find how this RA is working with things like that. Who else, for example, has this community space in the town? Have you been to that place?
I can say. Well, I'm interested in entrepreneurship, so I would look for the society or the community that do that, and we have a student entrepreneurship society here in Vaasa and also in different cities.
Yes.
I have a question though. So the people who are part of your community, like the cybersecurity community, are they just cybersecurity professionals, or are you also open to have like non-technical business people?
I think if you build a community, you can never have like this kind of filter that, hey, you are not allowed to come to this. You should have open doors for everybody. And of course, if somebody is a threat, then you need to like, that's a different thing. But I mean, you can always go and educate yourself. There's online education, there's courses, there's everything you have read on really fast. I mean, I read one education in 1 year about cybersecurity and get even a paper and everything from it. So, but if you don't even know what it's about, but going into a community, you can find out that what could my role be, maybe I'm good at communication. Maybe I could make a communication part of it. Then you probably don't need to have any kind of education in that case. You need to be communication. So yeah. It's important to understand that you don't need to be a full professional. Yes?
Um, Talking about getting a little company or little startup to start up. Out the way, can you talk more or shed more light on details in cybersecurity, as the features of cybersecurity? Me as a beginner, as a starter, as a beginner, what are the roles that I can play? I can do, to start up to sprinkle up my finances.
Yeah, when we start with, we have startup for cybersecurity. Yeah, what are the ways to go? Well, there's so many different things that you can do inside cybersecurity. You can be a consultant to go and, but then you maybe need to have quite high level already to understand. But you could maybe go into facilities, how they are controlled, maybe your camera systems, or I mean, there's so many. I said use ChatGPT to look out what are all the different areas inside cybersecurity and try to find what you are good at. So yeah, yes.
I actually have a kind of an answer to you and maybe others who are interested that this is not a local community, it's an online community. As Women for Cyber Finland, so Finnish chapter, you should look them up. They have a Discord server where you can just ask anything there and people will answer. And that's also a community where it's also different sex. So there's men and women and from all nationalities. And the main language there is also in English. They organize also events all around Finland, mostly in southern Finland, but hopefully maybe we'll have something in future in Vaasa as well. But I recommend you research them and look for there, and they also have tips for beginners.
Okay, thank you.
Women for Cyber.
Okay, thank you for my question.
Yeah, my name is Julio, and I see a lot of familiar faces here as well. And I am a marketing specialist on business to business markets at the University of Vaasa Executive Education. And I'm also a researcher at the moment on advanced technologies for business strategy. In that advanced technologies, I encompass what is AI, blockchain, and so many other technologies. But since AI is a really big thing at the moment that we are exploring, and I call it personally, that we are going through the wild, wild west moment of AI, that no one right now, your guess is as good as mine. And right now we are testing so many new technologies that we are not even sure which models are the best ones, which models are the ones that are going to prevail. But today I was asked to come here and tell my personal appreciation about AI and cybersecurity. One thing that comes into the question is that you should know that in the AI community, we are talking about that there's two kinds of people. You have the positive people, and you have negative people. And you can ask either, and they're gonna tell you that they are the positive and the other one is negative. But with one part is one that thinks that AI is gonna make humanity better, that we're gonna advance into the future. It's gonna come and fix so many medical problems. So many medicines are gonna come out. We're gonna advance in the fields of physics, in the fields of we're gonna create new materials. We're gonna be able to create new kinds of fuels. Of course, that's coming. That's already happening, actually, and that's kind of the positivistic view of AI. But there is another part, and actually, I don't know where to put myself. I put myself right in the middle as a researcher. We like to think that we are kind of like a journalist, that we are observing what's happening around us and we're reporting of what's happening around us. So the negative aspect of AI is that if we don't embed good governance into the code right now, it might take over whenever it has the ability whenever it has the ability to be autonomous, and whenever it has the ability to have its own self-initiative, which we are getting there. We're getting there. The Morpheus law has never been so true as it is now. You can apply it to AI. So we are talking about that we are few steps away from quantum computing. Although we already have some examples of quantum computing working, we have the Majorama from Microsoft. We have so many other experiments that NVIDIA has been doing throughout the recent months. But although we haven't quite got there yet when it comes to unlocking the fully potential of quantum computer. Why is it important? Because once we have reached a plateau when it comes to AI, but we need more processing power in order to reach new heights. So that new processing power, it's been promised that it's coming from quantum computer. Another problem that we have at the moment is that AI is also tied a lot to energy consumption. So I don't know if you guys have heard about the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale is pretty much measuring the type of civilizations that we have. So we have civilization number one, which is that civilization that has been able to harness the power of its planet. We have civilization number two, which is the one that has been able to harness the power of its nearest star, which is the sun for us, in our case. Civilization number three, the one that has been able to harness the power of its own galaxy, and so on. So that's why you get to hear all this theories that we are looking into the stars, looking for Dyson spheres, which are like solar panels around suns, around stars. So we kind of understand that that's the civilization that gets to harness the power of the sun is way ahead as our civilization right now. We haven't even reached the civilization number one. So, but AI has the power to do it. And now with nuclear fusion, which is another type of energy that is coming in the coming years, we're gonna have the possibility to unlock that new civilization. So, but the problem is once AI has reached quasi unlimited amount of energy and quasi unlimited amount of processing power, what's going to happen? Because we are already seeing consciousness, certain traits of consciousness on the models that we have created. And I don't want you to take my words so seriously because, as I said at the beginning, my guess is as good as yours. Same in the research community. Right now, we are still testing so many models. Personally, myself, I build local siloed models for business applications. I work as a personal as a contractor, as a consultant, and I also do research about it to create business simulations on top of AI models. We all know that the biggest problem that AI has at the moment when it comes to academia, when it comes to research, is the privacy concerns. So we have these privacy concerns, the GDPR compliant. This is something that comes and goes really, really often in AI research. It is not ethical that you grab an article and put it on ChatGPT because it is in the case that this article is not open source. So we have come around that issue by creating our own models, running in our own computers on a jail siloed version that doesn't have access to the internet. So at the moment, actually, I have been using Llama 4, which is one of the best local models that you can run. Among certain others, there's a lot of Chinese models that are pretty good, but we are still testing the how secure they are at some point. So, but let me tell you about why AI is important in this new era of cybersecurity. As you all know, cybersecurity came about the same time as the internet came. You know, the first version of the internet, ARPANET, made by the US Navy to share files among departments. So the cybersecurity concerns came out about that time. The what ifs. What if someone is able to infiltrate this hard drive and take valuable documents? Know where are our soldiers at a certain moment? What if the enemy knows where is our inventory in real time? So these are concerns that started in the military. Right now, they have, as you all know, they have gone into the civilian portion of the world. We have hackers. We already know that. The in 2001, we have this pivot time on which terrorism became a big part of our vocabulary. So that only enhanced the need for cybersecurity. But right now, we have another threat, and I really think that this kind of threat is almost as important, if not bigger, than the one that we have that humans pose. So we have the traditional security, the one that I already told you. So we have already implemented firewalls. We have already implemented certain layers of cybersecurity in organizations. But all this encryption that we have been able to create are not gonna mean nothing for an algorithm that can decrypt it, that can infiltrate because it has unlimited amount of processing power. So these are certain things that we are still trying to figure out. How is it gonna work in the future? Once we have a super intelligence AGI out there, the artificial general intelligence, how are we gonna protect our files? How are we gonna prevent from a super intelligent hacker to come into our systems? These are the kinds of things that we are talking at the moment. How we're gonna use AI to counteract AI. So whichever part has the most powerful AI is going to be the one that is gonna set the tone for the future. That's why it is considered by governments to be an arms race at the moment. Most of you have heard what's going on with the tariffs at the moment. Economies are being closed. Countries are coming and saying like, no, starting from now, we're not going to trade with China. We're not going to trade with this other country. Asia is not going there. This is not going to happen. Why? Because this threat is around the corner. So whoever has the minds, the scientists, all the professionals that are going to make this happen and reach a better version of what we have right now are the ones that are going to set the tone for the future. So we have all these new kinds of threats. Of course, like a super intelligent AI penetrating a system is one of those. We have other things to worry bigger than that. For example, AI coming up with a new virus, bioweapons, creating a more devastating atomic bomb. So, but all these things, cybersecurity is the first layer in the defense of our future. So that's why it's really important that now more than ever we start getting back to this topic. The World Economic Forum gave us this report, the 2025 jobs report. You can look it up. And cybersecurity is top five. It's top five of the kind of jobs that are gonna be secure by the end of this decade. I don't know if you have seen the recent news that right now in the U.S., art mayors have a lower employment rate than IT people. Why is that? Because we are at the moment we are at the gates of a new structure. We need to rethink the way how we approach the information technology. In cybersecurity, I'm going to tell you, it's at the forefront of all this. Cybersecurity, and more importantly and specifically, AI governance, which is part of cybersecurity. I think this computer. Okay, there we go. So what's important about AI is that AI starts with policy. Governments are the ones that are actually enabling this technology to go forward. If a government create a policy, for example, the EU on investment around AI. So these kinds of policies are the ones that are steering how the future is going to look like. So if you have the possibility to come and set up new laws, and have influence on the governments just to steer into this new technology, those are the countries that are going to go forward first. So we have the EU. The problem with the EU is that it has come too late into the AI race. We have a lot of competent people in this continent. We have a lot of competency. We have a lot of professionals. There's a lot of research coming out from this, from our continent, from Europe. But of course, at the moment, you are not strange to know that the Americans are the one leading up when it comes to AI. The Chinese are actually a little bit behind, and so many people even think that they are at the moment a couple of months behind of the Americans. What is Europe? So are we gonna have to stay always depending on what the Americans do, what the Chinese do? Are we gonna pivot and start doing our own algorithms? Of course, we have already started doing our own algorithms. Of course, we have the capability to reach there. But where does it start? It starts with policy. And one thing that Europe has that is actually debatable, but one thing that Europe has that the rest of the world envies is our sense of ethics. The morals that Europeans put into all the laws has a completely different perspective than the ones on many different countries around the world. In Europe, we have this like humanistic center view when it comes to do laws, not a profit-based view as many other Western economies. So regulation, it doesn't matter if you create great laws if you don't have any way to enforce them. So the EU Act is actually talking about a new way of enforcing algorithms, centralizing, because as you all know, here we have a kind of like centralized parliamentary government when it comes to the whole EU. And oversight. Oversight comes specifically starts with the individual, with the person that is coding, the one that is creating the algorithm. That's where the oversight starts. The oversight doesn't start once the code is done. The oversight starts the moment that you set up, you sit down, and you start creating the new. Okay, you have this vision for this platform. How is it going to look like? How secure is it going to be? What are the potential threats that we're going to have for this platform? Who can hack this platform? So these are the questions that we have to be asking even before we have a demo, even before we have an alpha, a beta. So there's many ways of becoming accountable, and accountability, of course, starts with the programmer, but ends ultimately with governments, the ones that are creating and enforcing the laws. So design has to be transparent, and this is something that we have been talking actually with my fellow colleagues, is that so far we have been so secretive about whenever we have an idea. Okay, I have an idea for this patent. I have an idea for this new algorithm, for this article, for this new kind of research. Nowadays, if we don't combine our minds, we are not going to get to the point where we want to go. Or at some point, AI is just going to come and surpass human capabilities and getting into the Terminator territory. But that's something that's still debatable if it can happen. It might happen if we don't embed governance from early on. So human review, humans have to always be on the loop. Right now we are talking about that there are three phases when it comes to AI. Phase number one is the phase where AI is an assistant. Right now we are in phase number one, and we are talking that phase number one is gonna end in a couple of years. So around 2027, we are calculating we're gonna reach to phase number two. Phase number two is when one team member at our companies is gonna be AI, and we're gonna treat that entity as a coworker. That's phase number two. Phase number three is when entire teams are gonna be AI, and this is already a decade into the future, as many are trying to predict. And what are we gonna become? We are gonna become the managers of these teams. The problem with that model is that we really need to have context to become managers of AI teams. If we don't have the context, if we don't know anything about certain topic, and we are just supervise this AI, of course AI is going to do whatever it wants. It's going to start having its own agenda. So that's why human review, human oversight is really important. Keeping humans on the loop. Of course, we are going to set up these audit procedures. Nowadays, we are starting to create new jobs, and one of those new jobs is the AI ethicist. In so many companies, this has become already a reality. As far as I remember, even in Vaasa, there is already a cybersecurity AI position. Um, Many of the multinationals are already implementing this kind of new policies because someone has to review not only what AI is doing, not only what the reviewers are doing, someone has to be overlooking the whole cybersecurity, the whole AI governance policy of the companies. And of course, documentation. We have to remember that history, the way that we treat history, is that we have it there to read it and don't repeat our mistakes. That's pretty much what it comes to. We document the whole step, the whole process, so we don't repeat our mistakes, and we end up having like a whole loop on the governance scale. Um, so why I am drifting so much from the main topic of this panel, which is why cybersecurity matters, why these kind of initiatives matter, because now more than ever, we need to see each other. We need to shake our hands. We need to collaborate. And these kinds of initiatives, like the one that is being proposed today, in my view, even though I am not 100% a cybersecurity expert, I'm more into AI. I can tell you, we need you. The world needs people that are gonna be the gatekeepers of these coming algorithms. And everyone around here, you're gonna have. Don't worry, you're gonna have a job because we're just gonna change our way of doing things, and we're gonna need people to ensure that our future is still secure. That your kids and your newer generation coming are gonna still have a world to come. So I invite you to follow me on LinkedIn. I have really like candid discussions in there. And then if for anything you already know where to reach me. Thank you very much. Any questions?
One side, we have GDPR and the EU AI Act, so ethics become very important, right? At the same time, there are other countries and other places where it's not so regulated and far behind. Also, like for example, say China, right? Uh, Probably not as regulated as EU. But is it unfair that they have ultimately such a large training data set without those things? Here you have, because of this, there are restrictions, whereas there you have a much larger data set on which you can use. So ultimately, the use case is very different when it comes there. So do you see that as restrictive by some of these EU acts that are coming?
The fundamental problem with the Chinese way of doing things when it comes to AI is that many of the flagship Chinese models have been done by distillation. That's a fancy word for stealing IP, for stealing intellectual property. So yeah, there is a discrepancy on how they are getting everything easier than the rest. For example, OpenAI has invested millions of dollars in training and stealing data also as well, because there is also a non-ethical thing going on. But there has been a lot of effort done, and then suddenly this new Chinese model, they just like Control C, Control V. So, and the EU Act is coming and telling you, like, yeah, you have to ask permission for everything. And it's just like restricting the whole thing. If you read carefully, the EU Act is actually a very progressive policy that enables companies in Europe to keep developing these new models that we need, and in an ethical way. And this is the thing: you cannot come and say, like, just because China and the US have a better model than us, we are not gonna sell our core values in exchange of a few bucks. We are still gonna get there. And I'm fairly confident that our models, for example, we in Europe we have Mistral, the chat, which is way far behind than the rest. But I'm still confident that our models are going to reach to a point that they are going to be competitive. and are going to be competitive and are going to be tied to European core values, which at the end, there's many cases that these core values and prove the world that it's the right thing to do. That is the right way to do. GDPR, it's something that has been copied by many countries around the world because it has good result. Not only in democratizing the security among the users, but in good results as a society in general. So I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
In essence, EU guarantees you safety to some extent. I mean, in terms of security, rather than the the counterparts as mentioned, right? If we get your message.
Yeah, like I said, like we have reached a point on where like EU is the moral compass of the world. I don't like to say it like that because it doesn't feel right that yeah, we are the ones, our values are above everyone else. But it has been proven over the years that the policies made in the EU find their ways into other ideologies that actually repel this kind of policies at the moment. So yeah, it's the moral compass. Yes, sir.
Talking about AI, is it in the future, is it possible to integrate AI into robotics?
That's a great question. Actually, the next step is that well, okay, we already have the software, and I don't know if you have noticed, but a couple of months ago, AI passed the Turing test, a specific Turing test, and this is debatable, but AI passed the ChatGPT 4 passed the Turing test in a way that in a text-based form. So we have the software. We have the software available to embed into mechanical systems. We have the hardware, but the problem with that is that there has been many years and a lot of scattered efforts around the world, not a unified effort, to create a really good product. That it has gone really slow. I remember Honda had an example of a robot that was able to walk really like Dom, but it was able to walk. But now imagine you have, for example, it's coming Tesla, is working on a new kind of robot. There's another Norwegian company that I forgot the name that has a really good robotic model. Now, what will happen when you have intelligence compared to ChatGPT embedded into a robot that is self-aware of the environment? That's the thing. It's not just like this robot can come and grab this, and now what am I going to do with this? You embed AI, and then okay, this is to click next. So this like smart, semi-conscious ability of self-awareness is what AI is already providing, and it's gonna provide to the to future mechanic prototypes. Yeah.
Of what benefit is it going to be beneficial?
I can tell you one that is also quite debatable, but once you have the ability to create automatic outputs from a factory, that you can free humans from labor, that you can. This is highly debatable, but we are already there's many theories around it. But what we think is like in the near future, we're gonna start seeing automation becoming a reality in many factories. And the good thing about it is that no one likes to work. But what is going to happen? Are you going to be fired? Who's going to buy all the stuff that these factories are producing? That's the debate number one. Who's going to buy? We have universal basic income. Does it really work? There's many studies around universal basic income where that actually created a plateau in development, in human brain development. So motivation is a big part, and purpose is a big part of the human psyche. So what is going to happen when you are paid just to be at home? No one knows at the moment. There's theories, but no one knows. So what's going to happen, for example, there is one theory that I kind of like. The only thing that I don't like about that theory is that the word communism is there, but it's the luxury communism allowed by. Are you going to be able to have this utopia that Marx talked about? Because the problem with communism is because it didn't work in our current system. It didn't work because there's a lot of human psychological factors that you have to change. But what happens when abundance is something that is not a problem anymore? So this is when a major shift is going to happen in our current economical models that are going to allow to have something similar to. And I'm going to leave you a good homework. Go and look and read this book. It's called Trekonomics. It's the economics of Star Trek. So that's the future that I like, that I would like to happen. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But that's the type of economy that if you want to work, you work. If you don't want to work, you don't work. If you want to explore, you explore. If you want to become a medic, if you want to become a biologist, a chemist, you can become that. Is it going to be an issue? I'm going to have food anyways. Because in Star Trek, you have this machine called the replicator that you ask from it. I want a gin tonic, and it gives to you. Whatever you want, it's going to give it. So we are reaching about that. So it's quite uncertain to answer your question, but we are reaching to some form of universal basic income in a way that is controlled. We still don't know how, but we are working on that. Yeah.
Now with all this in mind that we have just discussed, one great cybersecurity professional said a couple years back already that AI is currently the greatest achievement of humanity. And ever since internet came to be, and most of the humanity don't even understand currently and the greatness of it and what it means, that it will possibly maybe will be even added in the history books, the era of AI. But with that in mind, you also have, Bill, we've been discussing and hearing from you the importance of the cybersecurity specialist and all of us interested in the field and working in the field. There was like maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was said that there's a huge demand for coders and developers. But currently we have too many coders and developers and the demand isn't matching to that. What do you think? Will there happen the same issue with the cybersecurity specialist? Now there's a huge
Yeah, you're right.
huge flush going on and it's like hype.
Let me give you a long answer because I like to talk. By the time that we had the first industrial revolution, because now we're talking that we are in the third industrial revolution. By the time that we were in the first industrial revolution, then suddenly we have this like a steam engine. So no need for people to be doing stuff with their hands. So no need for having thousands of people in a factory. Now a machine can do more. So a massive unemployment. What's going on right now? What's going on right now on the IT community? Pretty much. What happened in reality? In reality, we just changed the way we work. Suddenly, this new technology allowed us to. Now we need accountants. Now we need marketing. Now we need a manager. Now we need MBAs. And suddenly the computer comes. Now we need coders. Now AI is coming, and I don't really like this term, but vibe coding is actually changing a lot. And whether you like it or not, it's getting better by the hour. But I just texted codecs from ChatGPT and just getting better. I was super happy last year when I was able to code my own snake just by telling I want this, I want that. Right now, I'm creating my own models for companies. I'm creating my own business simulations by using code. I have a friend who's working on a really great project in Mexico that they are tracking the women kills in a certain Mexican city, which is a really great big problem there. And he's using AI to create a platform to bring awareness to the police, to bring awareness to the government, to change that. So we're already having that. So what I'm gonna tell you is just like it's gonna be a shift. It's gonna be a couple of years that it's gonna be uncertain what is going to happen for most of the programmers. And that's why the cybersecurity issue comes into play. Cybersecurity is in the intersection between computers and humans. Human needs to a computer. So cybersecurity from now on, it's just gonna be here to stay. It's just gonna amplify because one aspect of cybersecurity that is gonna be enhanced is the fact that someone has to be checking what AI is doing. Someone has to be in the loop. Suddenly, why is AI moving money from this account to that account? Why is AI mining resources there when it doesn't have to? So those are the cybersecurity professionals that we're going to need.
Thank you for the reply. I think that's also an important aspect to all of this, and I think it's important for everyone interested about the field to no one think about to have the seed now in their minds.
No, that's great. No, thank you for the question, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry to do a talk to you first about the thing. And so here I also my concern is about you mentioned our current economic and political system. And the fundamental problem is the issue of inequity or basically access. So I'm concerned about, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, especially with environments or places where you have issues of infrastructure, basically, around this conversation. For instance, where I come from, Africa, it's a bit of a challenge for us there. I'm wondering, does it exacerbate that issue of equity, or does it fix it? How does it fix it? I don't know what to think about it. I'm speaking about, you talk about universal income and all that. Because I think the issue would be that what do you mean to keep, and that will determine how much you get in terms of all these huge pilots coming aboard or trying to understand and unpack and all that. So I'm wondering, does this AI and its future, does it address the question of inequity or access when you compare these two environments? Here in Europe, for instance, or the West generally, and things like Africa now.
Yeah, that's a valid question. And the thing is, the problem with Africa is the underdevelopment on the IT infrastructure. Yes. And so think about this. What happened when cell phones came to Africa? And they came quite late for some communities. Same on some Latin American regions. When cell phones came to these poor rural regions, and it's cheaper to have a phone than it is to have a computer, than it is to have access to the internet, pay it, and so on. So there's so many cases of entrepreneurship that was allowed by the fact that cell phones came to the rural areas. Okay, now this milk producer can go and sell his milk. Now this woman that is creating clothes can upload the pictures to Shopify and sell it online. So this is just an example of what can happen when you allow people to use these technologies. And personally, I really think that this inequality when it comes to the hierarchy of needs, this theory that is called the infrastructure hierarchy of needs, which is really nonsense in my opinion. But I really think that Africa might be one of the last continents to take fully advantage of AI, unfortunately. But at some point, the progress is just gonna come so fast that it might be not a lot of time until everyone in the world is gonna be equally is gonna have equal access to the models that are gonna change your life. So that's the things that you can access yourself. Now imagine what your government can access. Imagine what your government can do with access to all these new technologies. So you have governments that can use AI to make more efficient the energy transmission, which is a big problem in Africa as well. To make efficient, for example, the how you trade among peers, African peers, other countries, to make efficient the way that you create knowledge, the way that you transmit knowledge. So there is a lot of, and I don't want to end up saying this, but it's actually a big question mark. How is it going to develop in these underdeveloped regions? But my personal perception is that we are all going to get the technology. We are all going to have access to it. We are all going to take advantage from it. And you and everyone here that is representing your country are going to have the responsibility to bring it to your communities as well. because that's where it starts. You start to learn it. You have to bring. You have to give back to your community, and that's something about morals and ethics that sometimes is not taught at the university. You're taught how to program, but you're not taught how to bring benefits of your knowledge to your peers. So that's just like a personal take that I can give you. So yeah.
I think it also brings agility. So they might not be able to work in complex LLMs and those kind of things, but because of that scarcity, could create agility. Similar to the point you mentioned, where, for example, where I come from, multiple languages. So using AI and agentic AIs, they are used with different languages for uneducated women to trade through that. So it becomes a commercial model for them with agility, right? So ultimately, there's a different use case also in some of these places, even though the infrastructure might not be there. That's just a view.
And I give a really nice goal for the future researchers or the researchers that are around here, that do research on your community. There's nothing better than you have no idea how big of an impact it is to create a study about a community that has been forgotten. You're bringing a lot of development just by mentioning. So yeah, I just leave that seed, but I don't know if I address your concern. Anyone else?